Welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast with your host, Helen Fritsch. Helen is a 60-plus, lifelong competitive athlete, flight attendant, published fitness model, writer, IFBB bodybuilding pro, and certified wine specialist who believes that your age is irrelevant to pursue goals, dreams, and desires. Are you a woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who still has a burning desire to pursue a dream or a passion? Are you thinking about starting a new chapter in your life, but you're hesitant, thinking that you might be too old or just don't know where to begin? The Age is Irrelevant podcast is a podcast devoted to women who want to defy the odds, smash barriers, and redefine happiness and success after 40. It's time to make a difference. There is no need to dread blowing out that added birthday candle every year. A new movement is slowly taking momentum, where being over the hill just isn't relevant anymore. Age labels are being thrown out the window, and women are rediscovering the strength within themselves to make a difference, not only within their own lives, but also touching and inspiring the lives of other women. Join Helen as she and her guests discuss all aspects of aging after 40 and how to make the aging process and those twilight years more rewarding, exciting, and fun.
Hello, and welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. I'm your host, Helen Fritsch, and this is episode number 117. Now, if you care about staying strong, capable, and independent as you age, today's guest is someone that you definitely need to know. 65-year-old Susan Niebergall is a strength coach, educator, and one of the most trusted voices in fitness for women in midlife and beyond. She's known for cutting through the noise. No gimmicks, no extremes, just smart, sustainable training that actually works in real life. Susan didn't even start lifting seriously until her 50s, and today she's redefining what strong, capable, and confident can look like at any age. Her message is simple but powerful. Muscle matters, consistency beats perfection, and it's never too late to get stronger, physically or mentally. What I love about Susan is that she meets women where they are. She understands busy lives, changing hormones, aging bodies, and the mental side of just showing up for yourself, especially when motivation dips or life gets loud. In this conversation, we talk about building muscle after 50, ditching the all or nothing mindset, why lifting heavy is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, and how strength training becomes a form of self-respect as we age. If you've ever thought I should have started earlier or is it too late for me, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And for my listeners, what if the strongest version of you isn't behind you, but ahead of you? Today's guest is living proof that age is not a limitation, it's a launch pad. Susan Niebergall is a fitness influencer, online coach, and a powerful voice for women who refuse to shrink, slow down, or sit on the sidelines as they age. Susan didn't discover strength training until her 20s, but she embraced it later in life, and in doing so, completely rewrote what's possible for women in midlife and beyond. She's built muscle, confidence, and a movement that reminds women everywhere that it's never too late to get strong, feel capable, and take ownership of their health. In this episode, we're going to talk about lifting heavy, navigating menopause, breaking free from outdated fitness rules, and why strength is about so much more than what you just see in the mirror. If you've ever wondered whether it's too late to start or if your best years are still ahead, this conversation will change the way you think about aging, fitness, and yourself. And again, Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love all that, by the way. That all sounds absolutely fantastic. Right up my alley.
Oh, that's awesome. So what I like to do is I like to start off with my guests and just asking them about their childhood and growing up, because sometimes I know personally I grew up in a very athletic family, and so that kind of led me down the athlete path. And then I have other, previous guests who never even started their fitness journey till age 60. So where do you fall? Let's just take it through your childhood.
I was a musician. I was a
Oh,
music educator for several years and then ended up becoming a school counselor. So my whole career, and I've been retired now like 10 years, was all in education. I'm an athlete by heart, but I've never been an athlete. Like I've never played on organized sports. I did stuff like we had a co-ed flag football league in my gym when I was in my 20s. I excelled at that. That was really cool. I wish we had more of that then because I think that would have been a path for me. I tried swimming when I was in, we called it junior high back in the day. No, I wasn't very good, at all. So I wasn't really the athlete, but I was raised around DC sports. Like we had season tickets to everything. I went to everything. So I took statistics. I could talk sports, still can. So I'm a huge sports girl, just not the athlete in that way. Yeah, so it was mostly the arts. My brother was a music still a music teacher. I was a music teacher after graduating from college, so music was kind of the big thing in our house.
okay. So you became a fitness person like later in life. So what sparked that personal transformation?
I started in the gym, gosh, way back, probably my early 30s, maybe late 20s, doing classes, just kind of like most other people do. And I loved it. I love the community piece of it. And that kept me going back. And so, started doing that, ended up trying some personal training along the way and really loved that. And so I was doing personal training with trainers on and off for years and years. And I was working in the school system, was a school counselor for most of my career. And so I was kind of looking at this like, well, I talk to people for a living and help resolve issues, problems. And I love being in the gym. These two would probably be a good marriage, in something maybe to do. I was thinking maybe after retirement. And so I ended up getting certified while I was still a school counselor. And I started working part time as a trainer just at a local gym, 2 evenings a week. And that's where you kind of get you kind of get your nitty gritty experience there, which is what it was for me. It was kind of the launch pad for me. So that's how I got into it, talking to people, helping people, loving to be in the gym, wanting to share that. That was like the passion. So started putting two and two together.
Right. So you're 65, I'm 68. So we're all in that little same era
Oh,
where
yeah.
I would go to the gym also too, but I mainly would go for classes,
Yeah. Yeah.
step classes, aerobics classes, jazzercise, all that stuff. I saw all the weights. I might play around on some machines, but it was never really a big thing for me, like lifting weights. It was more, because I'm lifting weights in these classes. So, so how did your mindset around aging and fitness change once that you're, in your 20s and 30s, and then you start approaching 40s and 50s? It sounds like, you've got this progression going on.
Somewhat. I was still doing classes as well, but once I started working with trainers, yeah, it opened a whole bunch of doors. And because I remember my first gym, the class was in this big open area, and you could see over on the other side where the free weight section was and all that. And you could see what was going on over there. And so I just became curious as a younger, person in my 20s or 30s. And so I would change gyms for whatever reason, then would change to different trainers and had a lot of different experiences. Almost all of them were good. I learned something from everybody I worked with, but I just started to become more and more curious. And I really wasn't thinking about the getting older thing because, back when we were in our 30s, people weren't talking about
Oh, that's
aging
true.
and stuff,
Yeah.
like we do now. So I was just doing it because it was fun, and then I kind of liked getting stronger. I could start feeling the difference and everything. And so the curiosity is what kept me kind of still working with trainers, going to the free weight section more than going to classes. And it wasn't really until I was in my 50s that I really buckled down, hired Jordan Syatt as my online trainer, which I'd never worked with anyone like that before. And I was terrified because I really didn't feel like I knew enough. And, all the things I shouldn't be doing this, whatever. And that changed everything for me. Where the progress was made, where I started understanding what was going on, then as I'm in my 50s, I'm starting to think more about the aging thing and understanding how this plays such a vital role for us as we get older.
Right, right. I'm on the exact same page as you. So what was the biggest myth that you personally had to unlearn about like women's health, women's bodies over the age of 50? What do you what do
Gosh,
you what do you think?
I feel like there's a couple. So I'm going to cop out and say a couple. One that pops into my head regarding training. I thought more was better. Like if a one workout a day was good, two must be fantastic. Um, the more I lifted, if I could do two weightlifting sessions in a day, I was kicking ass. And I did that for a while. So I'm so surprised I survived it. And that's obvious. That's not true. It couldn't be farther from the truth. And not understanding what recovery does in the whole process of building strength and muscle, I just didn't understand it. Um, so, so I think that is one that pops out right away. And the other one that pops out right away is in a different area, maybe more the nutrition, weight gain, weight loss kind of area. And I always thought you step on the scale, that's bad. And if it goes up, that's bad, right? And if it goes
Yeah.
down, that's good. I didn't have a clue as to what fluctuations were, what happens on a day-to-day basis. There was none of that talk when we were younger. None of that.
You're right.
So I think the people mistake that every time they step on the scale and it goes up, they think it's fat. They automatically go to, I've gained fat. When 9 times out of 10, that's not what's actually happening. And I think that that's one of the hardest myths, misunderstandings or whatever, that our generation still struggles with to this day.
No, I agree 1,000%. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to ask you this question. Was there a moment when you realized that I'm stronger now than I have ever been? I mean, it sounds like that may have been like in your 50s. I know it was for
100%.
me.
It was definitely my 50s. The 50s were like, I tell everyone, this is the best decade ever because you have learned so much. You've spent a lot of your life learning and maybe relearning some things, right? And now you can apply it. And that's what happened with me in my 50s. So I remember when I did a weighted chin up with 45 pounds around my waist. And I had been working towards that. And one day I'm like, let me just try it. I feel really good today. Let me just try it. And boom, I got it. And I actually recorded it too. Thank the Lord. Because I don't know if I would have gotten it after. But that was like, wow, this works. It was more about consistent effort over time. It pays off, all the things. Yeah. And that was in my late 50s.
Yeah, same. Competitive
Did you have that
athlete.
moment too?
Competitive athlete my entire life. I started competing in bodybuilding shows at age 56.
Wow.
And it was just on a whim. I kept thinking, 60 was approaching. I wanted to look the best I've ever looked. People said, why don't you look into bodybuilding? I looked into it. I'm a certified wine specialist. That's a hobby of mine. And I was working at a wine shop at the time. And I'm like pretty much drinking wine every day. And I'm like, I have to eat like that and I can't have any wine and there's no more dark chocolate. And I was like, forget this. But the universe works in really strange ways. And about 6 months later, I walk into the gym to train with a girlfriend of mine who just happens to be a competitor, who just happens to be a coach, who was coaching somebody at the time. And they both were like, you need to compete. And there was a show in a month, which I laugh now because it takes 12 to 16 weeks to prep for a show. But I'm like, I can do anything for a month. And so I dropped everything for a month and I couldn't believe the change in my body in just a short
Wow.
month.
Yeah.
And entered this little 35 plus bikini competition. And I was 56, but I came in third.
Wow.
So I was like, I kind of like this. And so that started my journey. And you're 1,000% correct. My 50s were like, oh my God. Every year I was looking forward to this new year. Every decade looking forward to towards this new decade. I'll be 70 next year. So it's like, okay, I can't wait. But yeah, I mean, so many things you learn and you apply all these things that you've learned to today. And it's just so rewarding, so rewarding. So
Yeah.
exactly. Let's talk a minute about strength training and aging. So the big thing now is all about, I'm a big proponent, I know you are, is that, muscle is the key to longevity.
hmm
Why do you think that strength training is a non-negotiable for women in midlife and beyond?
Well, I think if you're thinking long term for the duration, you want to be as active and have a functional life for as long as possible. It's not just living longer, it's about having quality of life, right?
Quality of life,
And
yes.
and so if you don't have any muscle, you won't have any quality of life because you're not going to be able to move, you're not going to be able to get off the floor, go up and down steps, play with grandkids. I mean, do all these normal things that people just take for granted, like it's just going to be there for you, and it's not because I don't think people understand that Mother Nature starts robbing us of muscle back when we were in our 30s, and she was knocking on the door back then. And as we get older, her knocking gets louder. Like
I like that.
muscle loss accelerates as we age. And so I think it's really important to understand that while muscle loss will accelerate, you can also mitigate all of this, right? And the earlier in life that you do this, the better off you're going to be. Like people in their 20s and 30s listening out there, get to it now, and keep after it because then when you're our age, you're like light years ahead of us. I just think it's so important. I think people just lose sight of the importance of this. But it is key. And if you really want to have quality of life, then it's got to be a priority. And I know not everyone likes it. And I just tell people this, we all have to do things that we don't like, but it's too important to not include in your life somehow. Um, and so find a form of exercise you love to do and add a couple days of strength training, bare minimum.
I agree. What do you say to women who say, "Oh, I think it's too late"?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're case number one. I'm case number two. I mean, there's lots of us
Yeah.
out there that are showing that it's definitely not too late. I mean, we started really seriously in our 50s. People are dumbfounded by that sometimes. But
Hmm.
I think what I think that comment comes out of fear more than it's based out of fear. It's hard as we get older to change and to make a big change. And when you're uncomfortable with it, it's going to make it even harder. And I think that that's where that's coming from, not knowing, not understanding, and fear. But once you get set up in the right way, you're going to find it the most motivating and most empowering thing that you ever do. I mean, and if you haven't lifted before or experienced that, you probably the words don't mean as much, but for the people that have, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how that you can apply this to every aspect of your life.
Well, and there's so many more resources today. I mean, you think
Oh,
back when you and I were in school, I was an athlete in high school, and I used to, walk by the weight room, and I'd be like, "Oh, I would love to go in there sometime, but oh, I'm too afraid. Oh, girls aren't allowed, and stuff like
yeah.
that." Today, all the resources, the supplements, the protocols, the peptides, I mean, everything today. So it's just incredible all the resources that we have. I mean, even if you're a newbie in weightlifting, you can even go onto YouTube and Google some, beginner weightlifting sessions, stuff like that.
I think, and I think to that point, I think one of the issues too is that people don't know what to do. You know,
Exactly.
they don't know what to do. But like you said, there are so many resources to help you. So you don't have to remember what you saw on TV. There are plenty of things plenty of beginner strength workouts. Shoot, I have three of them on my YouTube channel. I mean, they're everywhere, and you could print them out for those people that don't like the technical whatever. Print
Hmm.
them out on a piece of paper and take them with you. And my opinion, honestly, the better scenario even than that is hire somebody. It's
Hmm.
hire an in person to start. It's worth every dime. They can get you the foundation that you want so you feel confident, you know what you're doing. Then you can go into the online world where maybe it's a little bit less expensive or whatever, but starting in person I think is super important if you can do it.
Right. And I think a point that also too that you'll agree with is that I did some online personal training also too over the years, and every single woman that I worked with, A, they don't eat enough food, and
Yeah.
B, they don't eat enough protein,
Yeah.
and they can't understand why they're tired, and they can't understand why they're not losing any weight. And so, when I hired a coach to help me with my bodybuilding, it was life-changing because I thought that I was doing all the right things. I thought I was eating right. I thought that, I learned so much. So even if you get that foundational first-time coach for 6 to 12 weeks, I mean, that was just amazing for me.
Yeah.
And I was able to take that and, move on.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
I agree 1,000%. How should training priorities shift as women move through their 50s, 60s, and 70s, in your opinion?
You know, and this is interesting because the 60s haven't been as kind to me as the 50s were. And so I kind of struggle with this. My personal struggle now is finding balance between what is enough, what my body wants to recover more now is kind of my struggle. And it's a mental struggle too. I still have that mental part of this where I want to go, but my body's like, you know what? And I'm not thinking that this is a good idea.
Hmm.
Um, so I think training needs to be a priority, but recovery needs to be a bigger priority, to be honest. If you're not training at all, that needs to be the priority. Let's get that going. And then once you get into a rhythm with that, then be careful that you're not training every single day and that your body never has a chance to rest and recover. Because I think that's what you're going to find from the 60s on up, that your recovery needs to adapt as you move through life. And that's the one thing that we necessarily don't want to adapt to because our mind is a 40-year-old and our body is a 60 something year old or a 70
Yeah.
year old or whatever. And what we have to mitigate here is the more we allow our body to recover, the more progress we're actually going to continue to be able to make. Instead of fighting this, well, back in my 40s and 50s, I used to do, and I'm starting to say back in my 50s now, like it was you know what I mean? Which is just a thing in of itself. But for real, for both of us who'd made so much progress in our 50s, that's kind of where I refer to,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I, yeah.
as where we kind of put all the pieces to the puzzle together. But it's got to be even more of a priority if you're not strength training, and then if you are, you need to pay attention to rest and recovery just as much.
Right, right. I agree. What's more important as we age, how much we lift or how consistently we train?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is always going to be key to this.
Yes.
It's, you know, I think the number game with lifting gets overplayed a lot, because my numbers are different from yours. Our numbers are different from somebody else's. It's not, it's what's challenging for us. And I hate, we've always said lift heavy weight, and I still will agree with that. However, I think a better word, especially as you get older, is a challenging weight. Use that word instead, because that can sound different to most people. I think it hits differently. And it applies, right? You want to lift weight that's challenging for you. So if you're picking up a weight and you're just cruising through 10, 12 reps and like it's nothing, like you and I could have this conversation, I'm just doing this, it's not heavy enough, right? We need to find a weight that's challenging for us so we're going to get the results that we're looking for. And that's what happens when you stick with something. And it's the boring old basics. And that makes it hard for some people to stay consistent with because it's not flashy and you're not going to see results every time you go to the gym necessarily and all the things. So it's just consistent effort and doing the things you know are right, even when you don't want to do them. And you keep doing that.
Right, right. So how do you help your women or your like new clients, for example, overcome the fear of injury or intimidation when they walk into a gym?
Yeah. And this is a big one because I think this is really common, right? And a big reason why women don't stick with something. That's why I love for women to start with an in-person trainer at the gym, because that's an appointment. You're going to the gym, which can be intimidating, but you're there with somebody who's going to show you where everything is and all that. So that's the first priority to me, if that can happen. If not, have a program that you have it written down what you're going to do when you get there, right? And maybe even take a time where you just go and you get on the treadmill and just hang out there, walk on the treadmill, get the vibe of the gym, look around, see where everything is, so that when you go to lift, you know where everything is, and you take your piece of paper that has what you're doing, and you know what you're going to do before you walk in the door, and if you need to see a video or reminder on how to do something, you can look that up. Whatever, you go in with a plan, because if you go in there not knowing what to do, you're going to walk on the treadmill and then you're going to go home, and that's what you're always going to do. And there's nothing wrong with walking. I mean, I love it, but if you're at the gym and you want to lift weights, then you need to lift weights, right? So being prepared and planning, I think, is the biggest thing, because I tell the story about this one woman I saw in my gym one time. Literally, I watched her walk in. You could tell by the look on her face she didn't know what she was going to do. She's looking around. She goes over to a cable machine. She does some bicep curls and it's moving super fast. So it's really light. She stops. She maybe does it again. Then she's wandering. She wanders over to the other side of the gym, looking around. She may have done one other thing and then she left. And this is really typical, right?
Yeah,
And
it is.
sometimes people will try to convince themselves that you lifted weights today.
Yeah, I went to the gym.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to the gym. And then they get frustrated because they don't see any results, you know?
Yeah.
And so the difference between that and having a plan on a piece of paper, it could be 4 exercises, whatever. Just have something written that you know you're going to do for how many sets are you going to do that? How many repetitions are you aiming for? And you can write down what you did, all that kind of stuff. Just something short, sweet, do your thing, and you can hop on the treadmill if you want at the end or go home, whatever.
Right. That's great. Okay, we're going to change topics a little bit. Hormones, menopause.
Oh boy. Boy, this is
Um,
a timely conversation for me.
yeah, exactly. So my first question is, how does menopause change the way women should approach fitness?
Part of me would say it shouldn't. We should approach fitness the exact same way, like working hard, building strength, building muscle, getting our heart health up there. That should happen whether we're in menopause or not, right? So, but menopause will affect a lot of this. There's no doubt about it. Menopause makes everything harder, everything, because maybe of lack of sleep, maybe energy levels are up and down all over the place, the muscle and joint aches that can happen, whatever symptoms that you have can make everything harder. It can make movement every day harder. And this is something that I've recently discovered about myself because I've started hormone replacement therapy at age 65. Um,
Good.
yeah, and we're still negotiating doses, and I have some health issues that complicate it a little bit. But to my doc's credit, she's willing to work with me. Most docs would have turned me way at the door. So I have AFib, and that's the complication. So we have to weigh a bunch of stuff. Is it better to do this? Whatever. But one thing that I realized over the last 3 years is that I've been moving less and I hadn't even really realized it. Like I was going to the gym and doing my lifting workout, and then I'd go home and I wouldn't move very much at all after that. And I wouldn't be able to lift with the intensity that I used to. Like I would leave the gym dragging. And when you leave the gym feeling that beaten down, you who wants to go back and do that again?
Yeah.
you, you know? But I know better, so I make myself go back and I noticed this pattern, and that's what started this whole exploration of HRT and learning and how all this affects us. So back long-winded kind of tangenty answer to your question. I think we need to um, prioritize everything just like we did. I don't think that should change, but we need to be aware of menopausal symptoms and how that's affecting us and then get treatment for those if it's warranted.
Mhm. No, I see so many women online who are going through menopause and just absolutely miserable, and
Yeah.
they're not even. I'm like, well, or even women that I work with, especially, and I'm like, well, are you on HRT? What's that?
Yeah.
Or I'll say, have you gotten a hormone panel done? Well, what's that? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's a blood test to test where your hormones are at. Because if you're in your 60s, they're going to be zero. I can tell you that right now. I'm
Yeah.
like, get your hormones in order, and you're going to feel a whole lot better. But
Yeah. I think and back when we were in our 40s, I never once was offered any kind of hormone replacement therapy.
no,
And
same.
I had a big incident. I had a big thing happen to me in my 40s. And I look back on that now, that was all perimenopause. That's all it was. And I went through a series of specialists. No one could figure out what was wrong with me. I had heart palpitations, vertigo. I wasn't able to sleep. I mean, it's starting to sound familiar. I had night sweats. I had all these things, and no one ever mentioned this to me. I just kept getting sent to people, the heart person, especially the cardiologist, and everything always checked out fine. And I think, wow, if I started hormone replacement therapy back in my 40s, how would this time of life right now be different for me? It would probably be very different because it's
Right.
been rough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's rough. And the cool thing is that it's not too late for someone at 65 to start hormone replacement therapy. I think it warrants a discussion with your doctor, and you have to look at your whole health picture like they have to do with me.
Hmm.
And then kind of talk about symptoms and, and kind of see if something could help you.
Yeah, I went on HRT in my mid 50s and then went off. And then I went back on in my early 60s because I'm at the gym, busted in my butt, competing in shows, and I wasn't putting on any muscle. I'm like, it has to be hormone related. So I got a hormone panel done, and my OBGYN refused to give me HRT. You're too old. This is where
Hmm.
your hormones should be. And I said,
Hmm.
but I'm not your average, 60, whatever I was.
Hmm.
I'm weightlifting, I'm competing in shows, and and I said, I just really and she said, made a comment, and I said, I've got this unexplained belly fat going on. I said, I'm in the gym, I'm doing this, I could be a lack of estrogen, and she's like, no, you probably need to get some cool sculpting.
God. Oh, no.
I was so mad. Anyway,
Oh,
I didn't go to her anymore.
yeah.
But and this is can lead into my next question. How do you coach women through frustration when their bodies are not responding the way they used to?
Yeah. And I'm one of those women right now. Like I am experiencing all of this as we speak. I was at my doc yesterday, honestly. We're trying to figure out progesterone levels for me. It is hard. One thing that's been helpful for me is educating myself on what hormones do, what they don't do, risk factors versus what we thought were risk factors back in the day with the World Health Initiative stupid study that ruined it for so many of us. Our generation got screwed
Yeah.
a lot. We're kind of the bridge between our parents' generation, which really they got screwed a lot, and then everyone else underneath of us. We're kind of bridging the gap, and so we're benefiting from some of this research. But I found that the more I learned, the better I was able to communicate with my doctors and push back on with my doctors a little bit as far as research goes, and that helps my frustration a lot. And the good news is there's so much information. There are people out there online. I mean, you could go to the Menopause Society's webpage, and the
Hmm.
resources there are incredible. There's just a lot to learn. And I just literally started with Googling HRT for a 65-year-old or something like that, right? And that's where I took off. And then I follow people online, and I don't know how in touch you are with the menopause space online, but it feels like there's two camps going on, and they argue with each other all the time, and it just makes my head explode. And the thing is, I listen to all of them because I feel like they all have something to offer. I wish they would just shut up about each other and whatever, but that's a whole different thing. But I learned from everybody, and I think that has been the one thing that's helped me with frustration because I'm frustrated. I'm having this issue that we're talking about as we speak. Somebody who has eaten the same for, I don't know, the better part of 10 years, right? Who is now tracking more of my movement because I know that went down. So now my movement's back up. My weight training has been, I do 3 times a week. Generally, I do jujitsu a couple times a week. I'm doing the things that I know. I'm sleeping better with hormone replacement therapy. We're not quite there. And I'm still struggling. Man, my belly is just like, what is this? So I get it. I get it. And so I keep researching. I keep learning. I attend webinars online. I've gotten some private consults that I've paid for, which have been super helpful. And I get armed with research information. I quoted research to my doctor yesterday, and that stopped her in her tracks. She knows that I kind of know what's going on. And it's not that
Hmm.
she's trying to pull the wool over my eyes, but we can have a much more effective conversation when we kind of know where each other's coming from. I
Right.
understand her, and she's really willing to work and all the things, but I think that's really important because the more of an advocate you can be for yourself, the better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also think too, you just tying in all the muscle and the weightlifting too, that muscle plays a big role in hormone health and metabolism.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think It's interesting. I was just right before we came on, I saw a post, a lot of coaches out there, a lot of personal training coaches say, well, you're just eating too much. Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So, no, let's not even go there. So, the fat's not mysteriously coming on. There's more nuance to this calories in, calories out conversation. Yes, it is always about calories in, calories out. Yeah. But what if the amount of calories that you need to lose weight has now shrunk, has now gone down? Well, why would it have gone down? Well, let me see. We lose muscle mass. We lose bone density as we age. We're not moving as much as we age. All of these things happen over decades. And if you're not aware of it and on top of it, it's going to, yeah, it's a problem. And yeah, your metabolism can slow down. And so now you used to eat this many calories to lose weight. Now you only eat this many
Yeah.
calories to lose weight.
Yeah.
So technically, it's still calories in, calories out. That crowd is absolutely right. That will always be the case. But what they're not talking about, what frustrates so many women is why is it not working now? Why has my metabolism apparently not working? My body's not working as efficiently as it used to. Why is that? Because until you figure that out, it's going to be spinning your wheels. But I will say this for not the majority, a lot of women out there, it's basic stuff that you're not attending to, right? That you thought you were attending to, that you're not. You're not as active. Maybe you are eating, maybe you could tighten up the nutrition. You're not tracking everything. You haven't gone down that road yet. There are basic things that you can put into place that could be the answer for you. But for people who are well attuned to their body, who have done things for so many years, who are in this for a living, then you have to really start looking at nuance and find, why is my metabolism slowing? What can I do to mitigate that?
Right, right. And I was just going to, and one of my questions was, why do so many midlife women undereat, and what does that do to their health? But you pretty much,
Well, and yeah, and this is the result, right?
Mhm.
It's because we undereat because we always thought that we had to undereat if we wanted to lose weight. Always. If we wanted to be skinny, that word, which was big in our day, maybe not as big now, but if you wanted to be skinny, I mean, I did Jenny Craig. So I learned that the way to be skinny is to not eat very much,
Mhm.
and with Jenny Craig, they put you, my guess was, I didn't know, but probably 1,200 calories, 1,100. And then they
Yeah,
had a week where they had you even lower than that. And so that's how I learned to lose weight, not eat.
yeah,
And if that's all you know, that's all you know.
right. So in today's world, protein gets a lot of attention. So why do you think it's so especially important as we age?
Because you won't build muscle without it. I mean, and we talked about how important muscle is as we age. We need it. We have to have it. And if you're not eating protein, you're just giving it to Mother Nature on a silver platter. You're just like, here, take it, because I ain't doing much to help keep it. So to maintain and to build muscle, you have to have protein. And like you said, most women are under eating protein. I mean, when I have women, just track protein. Just tell me how much protein that you're eating in general. And I get 60 grams, maybe, you
Yeah,
know, 40
scary.
to 60 grams. And when they hear, like if I say, I want you to try to aim for 100, and when they hear that, their head explodes. Like, there's no way I can eat 100 grams of protein, because it sounds like a lot. But when they actually start tracking grams of protein and serving sizes, they kind of figure out they could have 100 grams pretty easily. You don't have to change what you eat. You just need to increase the portion size of what you're already doing.
Hmm.
That alone will get you closer to 100. Make the little 3 ounce piece of sliver chicken that you're eating, make it 6 ounces. Now
Hmm.
you're full longer. You're not going to be snacking as much, and you're much closer to hitting, 100 grams for the day.
No, yeah, that's a great suggestion. What's your philosophy on dieting versus fueling the body for longevity?
Yeah, I think that's a tough mindset shift for people. Um, I had this conversation with the inner circle that I coached with Jordan Syatt last week, and we were talking about having to diet, meaning getting your calories below what your body needs to kind of live. Hence, you would lose weight, being in a calorie deficit, versus staying kind of in a maintenance kind of thing, where your weight just kind of hovers in a little neighborhood of 4 pounds. You just hover in that 4 to 5 pounds, which is where I've been until recently. I popped out of that, and I'm would love to get back down to that. Um, but I don't want to dial it in and be in this calorie deficit anymore in my life. I'm looking at the end here. I mean, where we are, this continuum of life, we're kind of over here now. you know, we can see more than we used to be able to see. And I'm like, do I want to spend time overly restricting calories so I can lose 3 pounds or 4 pounds? Are you kidding me? No. Why would I want to do that? But yet the decades of information that we were brought up with keeps gnawing in my brain too, just like anybody else. It's back there, that chatter of get skinny, you need to lose, da 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 da. But I'm just telling myself this. Yeah, I'm going to carry some extra body fat for a while, whatever. My goal now, I've got some performance-based goals, and this is why I think when you can switch your mind to losing weight and just building strength and muscle without anything more specific than that, I think giving yourself performance-based goals really help. Like, why not give yourself a goal of doing a chin-up? Why not give yourself a goal of doing push-ups or deadlifting your body weight or whatever goal that you have, something very specific, so that you're in the gym working towards something. And you're going to see all these kind of personal bests happen along the way and see what your body can do, And even if you were to lose weight, you're still going to pick at your body. Probably you're still going to say, you know what, that you may not look as good as
Yes.
I still could look better. But when you do a chin up, you can't take that away. I mean, you can't nitpick that. You did it. You either do or you don't. And so I think, and I heard Jordan talk about this recently on a podcast, and I couldn't agree more with him with this. I just think performance-based goals are so important. They drive me. They make training more fun. I just give myself, like, I've had a shoulder injury, so I'm trying to work back to chin-ups, and maybe someday that 45-pound weighted chin-up, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep going. It keeps me moving forward. And then we're building muscle. And then we're building strength and power. And then we're going to have a more functional life. So, it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Right. Is there a nutrition rule that you wish women would stop following over like the age of 50?
Gosh, where do you start with that? We got to get rid of the carbs or the devil. Like, I cut out carbs. Why? Why would you even think about cutting out carbs? We were just brought up to think that if you cut out carbs, you'll lose weight. Well, you cut out protein, you're going to lose weight. You cut out fat. I mean, you cut out anything, you're going to lose weight. It doesn't matter what you cut out. But what will matter is how you feel and how you perform and all that. So if you're going to cut carbs out, you probably won't make the progress you want to make in the gym. You're going to wonder what the heck's going on with that. You're not going to feel energized. You're probably going to be dragging a lot. I mean, that's not quality of life either, So I think we need to stop blaming carbs for everything. And instead, if you really want to lose body fat and lose weight, is to start tracking what you're consuming overall. And, I personally have never been a huge fan of tracking every macro for just the average person who wants to lose weight. I don't think you need to do that. For someone like you in a bodybuilding kind of world, yeah, I definitely think that makes a huge difference. But for an average 60-year-old female who wants to lose weight, I don't think it's as complicated for someone like that. I think just making sure you're getting your protein, keeping your calories in a deficit overall, and being consistent with that, and that will ultimately be what works.
Good advice. Can you talk about bone density and why lifting heavy matters more than just walking alone?
Yeah, and I'm suffering with that too. Was diagnosed with osteoporosis a year ago, which is surprising because of everything that I do and I have been doing. I even ran a lot in my 40s. But there's a big genetic component to this. And that's the only thing for me that makes sense. And I understand the frustration. So now strength training becomes even more important because bones respond to load. And that's what's going to force them to create more bone is when you load them. And even maybe with that, impact. So I've added impact to my training now, where I mean, and it doesn't have to be anything more than hopping, if you know, whatever.
No.
But I'm doing different kinds of things just to mix it up. And when the weather gets better, I'll jump rope again and whatever. But just trying to add some impact several times a week as well on top of strength training. But this is how our bones get the signal. Oh, you guys, we need to replace bone. We need to recreate. We need to create more bone right now, and get stronger because the demands are there. And so that's why walking, while it's great for some things, building up bone density is not going to be one of them. And I know that there's this whole thing about wearing a weighted vest, and I have a weighted vest. I love my weighted vest, but I'm not wearing it thinking, okay, so if I'm walking with my weighted vest, I'm going to help my bones as much as maybe I'm helping get my heart rate up more than what I wanted, what it was going to get up to without it, kind of thing. But yeah, but load and impact are what's going to signal to the bones that, hey guys, we need to kind of get the show going here and build some more.
Right, right. How do you define aging powerfully rather than just aging gracefully?
Yeah, wow, what a great question. I would definitely be the aging powerfully girl. I would want to be that girl. Um, yeah, everything that we've talked about, strength training, and actually including some power, some impact, all those things to our training, and being consistent with that for the duration, not thinking that this is just something I'm going to do for a month or two and let me see what happens. No, this is how we incorporate it into our lives. And when you start doing that and you start seeing what your body's capable of, even at our age, our bodies are capable of a lot. You're going to get this confidence and you're going to get this empowerment that you've probably never felt before.
Yes.
And that's how I think we all should want to age, right? With that kind of mentality going on, being able to physically do whatever we want to do. We can choose to do some things or choose not to do, but we can choose. It's not that our bodies are telling us no, it's we're making the decision, and then that and carrying ourselves with confidence. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Right. So that's going to lead right into this next question. How does getting physically strong change a woman emotionally and mentally?
Yeah. The confidence that you're going to feel is going to be indescribable, number one. And then you're going to see it bleed over into other parts of your life that you may not even really pay attention to at first. And even how you make decisions, how you carry yourself, how you're maybe more confident to speak up about something where you maybe wouldn't have been before, something. It just starts kind of sipping into every part of your life. And I think that that's the coolest part to see with people when they start training.
Right. So why do you think society struggles with strong, confident older women? It
Yeah,
just
I
seems
don't
like a
know.
big,
I don't know. I will say, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. I feel like our age group, and I'll just say 60s, 70s, let's say, whatever, even 80s, whatever, we're like completely underrepresented in a lot of stuff. And especially in the hormone world, there's no information. Essentially, we have to dig it out ourselves. But even in strength training world, I mean, we're seeing more and more and more, but boy, we didn't used to at all. And, I just feel like there's, I don't know why people have a problem with women being stronger and more powerful or whatever. I mean, that could go down another long road, a tangent with whatever. I, but I think the world better be ready because I feel like it's more now. There's more of us now than there were 10 years ago. And there's
hmm
going to be more 10 years from now than there are right now. I mean, it's not
hmm
going away.
No, it's
It's
not.
not going away because all the stuff that's being talked about in the 40 people in their 40s and 30s, which we didn't benefit from in our 30s and 40s, when they get to our age, I mean, world, watch out. They're going to be light years ahead of where we are right now.
Right, right. What excites you the most about women finally waking up to this like strength training later in life?
I, you know, I think it's just really cool listening to the stories that how it's changed their day-to-day life. Um, Not only physically, but physically, how they feel physically every day, but things that they maybe are trying. Like they're even trying new things. They're learning new things. I started jujitsu at 62. Like I would never have done that. I mean, are you kidding? Um, it, it's it's cool to watch this happen, and especially with clients when you get to know them and you see kind of where they started and where they are at the time. But it's super exciting, and it just opens so many doors, and it's cool to see people living longer, but not only living longer, but living healthier longer, and seeing some of these people you see video clips, they're in their 90s and some of the stuff that they're doing, and you're like, I want to be that. I want to be
No,
that person.
I've had some women on my show, and actually, I had one woman who was the world record had the world record in pole vaulting for her age at 85, and
Wow.
now she's 90, and she's broken the record again. And I was a track athlete, when I was younger, and after I ended that show, and I thought I've always wanted to pole vault, so I ended up going to a pole vaulting academy and started pole vaulting.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
so
I
cool.
mean, so it's just stuff like that. And then I went to the big nationals, and to see these women in their 90s running down the track and running like doing hurdles,
Yeah,
long jump, high jump. I mean, it was just like, this is crazy. I mean,
that's
it was like really, I've had several women from the track world on my show because a lot of these women didn't even start their fitness endeavors until they were in their 60s, and they just kind of fell into it. And now they're world champions. And it's
that's
like,
incredible.
right?
That is
Very,
so
very,
incredible.
very, very inspiring.
Yeah.
And I always hope, and I'm thinking that you do too, that women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond realize what's still possible out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's changed so much too. Uh, I look back at pictures of my parents and try to guess their age in these pictures, and I'm like totally off base. I mean, things have just changed
Mm.
so much. And what they used to do in their 60s versus what I'm doing in my 60s. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's,
I know that you can relate to being little and going to visit family. And I had aunts, and they were probably in their 40s back then, and I was,
yeah,
super young. And all they did was just sit around in their dresses and around the like the table and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes. And
yeah.
then it was time for beers and whatever. But
Yeah.
today, like, this past weekend for the Super Bowl, I'm at my nephew's house, and he has a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm running around the yard and throwing them up in the air and, whatever. And they don't think anything of it that, I'm as old as I am, but I'm just like laughing, going, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
like, it's so different. It's
Yeah.
so
It's so
different.
different.
It's so different. Okay, so I want to do a little lightning round with you.
Okay.
I've
Uh-oh.
got about 16 to 18 questions, and it should be fun. Okay, so my first question is one exercise every woman over 50 should be doing.
Hmm. I would say some sort of deadlift, and I don't want everyone to go to a barbell and heavy weights right away in their brain. Some sort of hip hinge movement. Maybe I'll say it that way. A hip hinge movement, because that is about as functional as it gets.
I think that's a great answer. One thing women should stop doing in the gym after midlife.
Nothing. I don't have anything I don't think anyone should stop doing. Do what you don't like. I mean, you know,
That's true.
yeah.
I would think my answer would be stop doing so much cardio.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But as far as weightlifting and everything, yeah, yeah, nothing. I agree. Okay. Pick one. Heavier weights or more reps?
yeah, I don't do that game because they are two very distinct things, and they are for two different purposes. And honestly, whichever one you do, whether it's heavyweight, low reps, lighter weight in quotes, and more reps, the weight still has to be challenging for you, whichever way you do it.
Right. Good. Cardio that you actually like.
What about, oh, that I
Cardio.
actually like?
Yes.
Oh, oh. I like riding I don't have a Peloton. I have a bike, but I do bike classes. That would be what I like.
Okay. What do you think the biggest myth is about aging bodies?
that we kind of get old and decrepit, like we kind of shrivel down and we slow down, instead of our feet are on the brakes, our feet need to be on the gas pedal.
Is there a habit that you think ages women faster than anything else?
Yeah, inactivity.
Very good. I'm thinking the same thing. One thing that makes women stronger immediately, physically or mentally.
Mm. Um, Lifting weights. I think lifting weights and being consistent with it.
Protein before or after workouts.
It doesn't matter. I think you're gonna, it will probably serve you better after, but I think if you have a little bit before with some it's all, I think people overthink this.
Do you like morning workouts or afternoon workouts?
I am a late morning workout girl right now.
Okay. Favorite strength move that scares women but shouldn't?
Oh, probably chin ups.
Yeah.
Um, I think they're scared because it is intimidating to get everything working right or whatever. There's so many ways to progress them and assist. I think, but that is one of the most empowering moves for women too.
One piece of advice you'd give your 40-year-old self.
Oh my gosh, stop working out so much. Stop doing two-a-days, Susan. Stop doing that.
Okay. What does strong really mean to you now?
Mm, That's wow. Strong is physical, still is physical strength, whatever, but it's also mental strength for me now.
It,
When you have injuries or you have illnesses and you have to deal with this, and I had a hip replacement a couple of years ago. There's a lot of mental strength, so it's a big mental game too.
one non-negotiable for long-term health.
Lifting's got to be it for me.
Okay. One thing women don't need to earn or apologize for as they age.
Dessert.
Oh, that's my weakness, dark chocolate. Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
right? Me too. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, dessert. Stop apologizing for dessert.
Yeah. If a woman has 20 minutes, what should she do?
Um, I would alternate that 20 minutes, meaning one day I would do some strength training, maybe another day I would focus on more cardio.
Okay. Something you love more now than you did in your 30s or 40s.
Lifting.
Lifting.
Yeah.
And the final question, finish this sentence. Getting older has given me permission to.
Mm, wow. Getting getting older is giving me permission to say no.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
good.
and no, and what popped into my head was no, I don't have to be in a deficit if I don't want to be anymore. No, I don't have to deadlift 300 pounds. No, I don't have, in order to make progress. No, I don't have to do that stuff. Like the knowledge and being this old. Yeah, no. And no, if I don't want to go to the gym at 10 a.m., I won't. I'll go at 2. I have the luxury of saying that, but I've earned that over the years, right? And
Hmm.
and so yeah, just the ability to say no. And I go back to the life continuum, and it's kind of the it ends over there. And what what's my priority between now and then? Really puts perspective on things that are important to you, things to say no to, things to say yes to. I think that's changed a lot for me.
Excellent, excellent. If people want to start following you or reach out to you, I mean, I know that do you have just some online programs and things like that?
Yeah, so I coach the Inner Circle with Jordan Syatt. It's a group membership, kind of training, mobility, education, the whole thing. Um, I don't do one-on-one right now, but I do the group coaching with him, and I'm out on Instagram a lot.
Okay, and what's your Instagram handle?
Susan Niebergall Fitness. I also wrote a book called "Fit at Any Age It's Never Too Late," and it's kind of my journey, the story of my journey, what I did, and how I turned things around in my 50s.
Okay, and where can they get that?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, cool. I just wrote a book last year myself.
Wow, what's your book called?
It's called Life Lessons from the Overhead Bin.
Oh, I love that title.
Yeah,
Oh, I have to
yeah.
go look that up.
I'll have to look up your book too. It's incorporates flight attendant, bodybuilding. I was diagnosed with leukemia about 12 years ago, so I incorporate that in there, my podcast.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fun book.
Wait a minute. Tell me one more time. What's it called?
Life Lessons from the Overhead
Life
Bin.
Lessons. Okay. I'm from the overhead bin. That's classic. I love that. I love that.
Well, Susan, you've been a joy. This has been really
This has been
fun.
fun.
Thank you so much for taking some time to share all your knowledge. I follow you. I have a bunch of friends who actually follow you too, so that's kind of cool too.
That's fun.
So anyway, but I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll talk soon.
Yes. Thanks, Helen. Great to see you.
You too.
What a fun interview. I sure hope you enjoyed that conversation with Susan and I. And I do have some takeaways. Number one, aging gives you permission and the power to say no. As Susan shared, getting older sharpens your boundaries. You stop wasting energy on things that don't serve your health, values, or joy, and that clarity is a strength, not a loss. Number two, quality of life is directly tied to strength. Mother Nature knocks on our doors every decade, and she gets louder if we ignore her. Muscle, mobility, and resilience aren't about aesthetics. They're about independence, confidence, and staying capable as the years stack up. Number three, consistency beats intensity, but the weight still needs to be challenging. Show up with a plan. Lift with intention. Choose weights that demand effort. Progress doesn't come from random workouts. It comes from repeatedly doing the basics well and pushing just enough to adapt. And finally, strength training is future-proofing your life. This isn't about training for now. It's about training for the woman you want to be 10, 20, 30 years from today. One who can move well, live fully, and say yes to the life because her body can handle it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let me know and share it. You can reach Susan at Susan Niebergall Fitness, and that's Niebergall Fitness on Instagram, and her book as Fit at Any Age. And you can reach me at helen@ageisirrelevant.com. And as always, age truly is irrelevant. Take care. Bye-bye.